I think it's about time we have an uncomfortable conversation and talk about the extremist tendencies within quotation marks progressivism. If we really look into it, it's not progress, it's barbarity. That's anti-civilization stuff. They're not progress at all. But within this ideology, there are extremist tendencies. They're very highly correlated with the victimhood narratives that academia has created for the last 6-7 decades in the Western world. Lots of these people who created these narratives came from Europe. Critical race theory, critical theory before that, postmodernist theories, all of these came from Europe. And they were a particularly bad export from Europe into the States. And they have created several victimhood narratives which function in a way right now that leads to stochastic terrorism. Most people think that violence is justified when someone is in self-defense. So what these narratives are doing, they're radicalizing our youth, they're radicalizing Zoomers, but also everyone else, but mostly Zoomers within academia and online, by constantly creating a perception of reality that is entirely skewed and leads them to think that they are in conditions where they have to defend themselves. They believe that because these narratives are true, they are in conditions where they have to defend themselves, and therefore they think that they're justified in using violence. And I want to say that this is something unbelievably pernicious. People who were in academia could see it. I was in academia for more than a decade. I could see it. The level of evil you hear in academia is unprecedented. And I was very much into studying authoritarianism and totalitarianism, and I've been blocked by Anne Applebaum for telling her that you need to, you can't say you care about totalitarianism and authoritarianism and not focus on wokeness. Because she was playing a lot the Trumpist fascist card.
Yes.
Right? This absolutely vile rhetoric.
Anne Applebaum.
Applebaum is evil.
That's actually quite a good badge of honor to be blocked by her.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we need to have a conversation about this, and people within academia who are sensible need to start speaking up, because unless they speak up, they will find themselves pandering to narcissists. They already find themselves doing that very thing, but all of them need to become brave and start looking at what it is that they're pandering to. And why are they doing this? Not necessarily because they're bad people. Far be it from me to suggest that all of them are bad people. There are all sorts of reasons doing this. But these narratives were popularized and turned mainstream by Obama and Hillary Clinton in the last decade. It's one thing to say that there is a extremist narratives or narrative or series of narratives within academia, and at some point it has created a power keg that will blow up. When you say this, most people don't listen to you. But now that this has real life consequences that more and more people wake up to, it's time to have that conversation again. Because we have said before that progressivism has extremist tendencies. I want to show you several ways in which this happens, and ways in which the Democrats, some of the mainstream Democrats, but not just them, are using that narrative in order to create a false perception of reality to millions of people, according to which violence is justified. And when you do that to millions of people, when you're spreading narrative after narrative of victimhood, some of these people will actually do something. That's why it's stochastic terrorism. And that's why it's something that is deliberate, and it must be resisted by people across the political spectrum, because there have to be some decent Democrats or some decent supporters of the Democrat Party, presumably, who will not want to live in a society or be members of a party that is pandering to extremist, narcissist psychopaths. So just one thing to say really quickly. This narrative, according to which words are violence, but also silence is violence, is essentially a narrative where you can't win.
It's completely totalitarian, right?
Exactly. Unless you agree with the party, your existence is a threat. It's a threat. It's conducive to all sorts of imagined genocides that they are talking about. Therefore, they think they are justified in using violence against them. And also, they completely deflect because they use narrative controls within propaganda to use this and project it on the other side. That's why they constantly have people, for instance, in fashion billboards where they say, "My existence is an act of defiance."
Right.
Meanwhile, when they're actually declaring the existence of dissenters as an enemy they want to see eliminated.
Because they call them Nazis, because they call them fascists, because they call them far right.
Nancy Pelosi here says Democrats can't take responsibility for their rhetoric against conservatives because their intention for violence is not for violence to ensue.
It's the classic thing. I think it was very good at the very top of this segment where you said progressivism isn't progress, it's more or less barbarity. Yeah, absolutely. It's the classic thing. There's a reason why George Orwell's 1984 is so sort of famous and prophetic. The idea in it of double think, double speak.
Yes.
That war is love and all that sort of thing. The Ministry of Truth, where it's all about propaganda and lies.
War is
the
peace,
Ministry of Love, which
freedom,
is about
slavery,
torture and death. All those things. Absolutely, yeah. That progress is actually pretty much the opposite. The idea that diversity is a strength. No, of course it's not. It's a weakness. Of course. And just the examples of that just go on and on and on. That they would co-opt the word progress.
Exactly.
Sorry, go on.
No, please.
I just had another few examples, but I think most people get the idea.
This is precisely why I'm very much against, from day one, I'm very much against using the language of the establishment, because first of all, I don't want to be carried into the whole pronoun thing, but also progress is the exact opposite of what the far left wants it to be. This is barbarity. That's not progress.
One of the things in the Cold War, very often sort of pro-communist Soviet, actually full Soviet organisations in the West would quite often use the word peace, some sort of peace movement. Join the peace movement.
Yes.
Again, the classic sort of double speak, double think.
Mao was saying a thing on the Red Book that our violence is anti-violence. It's against the imperialists.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that the events of these last days, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, has created a situation where more and more people wake up from this alarmist and extremist narrative. And more people wake up from this, and they can't do narrative control the way they used to, because their side started cheering, and they can't take this back. Yeah. They tried to take this back when they started gaslighting everyone by focusing on the quantity of different messages, when they said, no, it's a right-wing killer.
One parallel I've just thought of, maybe someone else has said it, I'm sure someone else has said it, but it's just popped into my mind. After 9/11, on the day of 9/11, there were people chanting and whooping it up in the streets in certain Middle Eastern countries.
Yes.
And that is very, very... A lot of people, I know a lot of people, saw that and was like, wait, what, really? Wait, they're cheering for this.
Yes.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't know that. I didn't know people felt like that in Egypt or Saudi Arabia or wherever. Or Iran. I didn't realise they hated us that much. I think this Charlie Kirk thing, where various people were literally whooping and cheering and having a good time with it, I think a lot of people, normies I suppose, have woken up to be like, oh no, they really do hate us with sort of murderous intent.
Yes.
Oh wow, okay, I didn't know that before.
Here we have someone reading and practicing probably the Maoist playbook that we just mentioned. It says, Trump threw gasoline on the fire amid growing political violence, expert says. Right, so yeah, it's Trump's fault, according to him. David Pacman says, MAGA is already declaring open season on the left after Charlie Kirk's disgusting assassination. Is the opposite of what we need. Are you going to take responsibility for creating and sustaining an alarmist culture? Not holding my breath. Right. So let's focus a bit on the philosophy behind it, and then focus also on some other aspects of it. So Carl and Thomas Dowling did a premium piece here on Marcuse, the repressive tolerance. This was in 2021. Because Marcuse is behind a lot of these movements. He also had this piece on repressive tolerance. Let me, please, can I have control of the mouse, please? Right. James Lindsay, who has worked also a lot on this, he says essentially that in repressive tolerance, Marcuse insists violence from the left and violence from the right are not the same. Violence from the left is a moral necessity and must be tolerated. Nothing from the right should be tolerated. That's essentially the message. If you want to read also
distinction,
if you want to check also the video that Carl and Thomas did, subscribe on Lotus and watch it. I think that's also that maybe, yeah, check it out. Right. And I want to say that this is a part of the philosophical aspect of this, but there's also another part that came from attacking traditional Western civilization, especially from the 50s and the 60s. There were lots of people who literally blamed reason for World War II and reason for oppression and all sorts of oppression and discrimination and everything. And they popularized the narrative according to which the Logos, which is the central pillar of Western civilization, and almost every strong pillar of it, the Logos is the pillar of Western civilization, they attacked it as a form of oppression itself. When you do this, no wonder you're going to get out with screeching people who are glorifying their whims and have zero emotional regulation, and they think that just because they feel oppressed, they are oppressed and they are justified in killing everyone. The pillar of Western civilization is the idea that emotions should be held in check by reason and by the higher aspect of our nature, because unless we do so, we are going to be completely governed by the lesser aspects of our nature. That's, in a nutshell, Plato's Republic. The tyrant is governed by their lower self. Right, and we have here Obama, who basically says, I want you to stay angry. I want you to stay frustrated. He wants this narrative to continue. We have Hillary Clinton, who said half the US, half the supporters of Trump are a basket of deplorables. And she compared them with Nazis and fascists. This ridiculous alarmist narrative, according to which unless you support open borders, you're a supporter of Hitler, as if the people who fought and won Hitler were in favor of open borders. They weren't. Right. We have here all these things from Joe Biden, who was, again, fanning the flames of this ridiculously alarming narratives, saying Donald Trump is the greatest threat to a democracy. He's a genuine threat to this nation. He's a threat to a freedom, a threat to a democracy, a threat to everything America stands for. Threat to democracy poses many threats to a country, but the greatest threats to democracy, if we lose that, we lose everything. Just here we have threads of Democrats essentially calling for violence and normalizing violence against Trump. I'm not going to show all of it because I'm mindful of time. Jasmine Crockett. The violence is all from MAGA, not the left. It's just, you can't get more disgustingly mistaken.
And deliberately.
Yeah. They're not interested in truth or reality, not remotely.
It's all narrative control.
Just not interested.
All narrative control. Here we have also media. We have influencers from the left essentially calling for violence. If that's not an incitement to violence, I don't know what is. But they're keeping that alive.
What did Piker actually say and do?
Well, he said that you need they need to be gutting them.
Right, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. Right. Now, let's go to the UK just for a moment to show how this alarmist narrative plays into UK politics. Owen Jones. The far right wants to shut down democracy, crush the left, who say they see as traitors and drive out minorities, who they see as an existential threat to the notion of Western civilization. Everything they do is a means to those ends.
The idea that replacing people with a people of different culture is not a threat to the existing civilization is stupid.
It's a destruction
Lebanon
of the demos,
changed
and you can't have a democracy without a demos.
Exactly.
And by constantly offending your demos and calling them extremist lunatics.
Exactly, but the idea that if this country becomes 50% Muslim, it'll still have the same governing system is so laughable, is so dishonest, is so pathetic. Even the Palestinians, when you talk to the honest ones, they'll tell you, we don't want a Palestinian state. We want a fundamental change in the whole regime that stops us from becoming another Jordan or Egypt, because they know that this group produces this polity. So the idea that, they're just vulnerable minorities and they're a threat, guys, let's just be honest about this. This is not how it
There are genuine
works.
threats, and we need to focus on empirical data. I think one of the best things about AOC has been said by Thomas Sowell. He said her speech is incredibly manipulative. She mentions no facts. It's all emotion.
It's all emotion.
Here we have. Sorry.
Well, Farah says, let's just be honest. Let's have an honest conversation. Well, that's the exact thing that someone like Owen Jones isn't prepared to do.
Not at all.
He talks about other people lying all the time, that XYZ concept or narrative was always a lie. He says that a lot. He's the one peddling in misinformation.
Completely.
He was the one who's saying right up to the last minute that there's no such thing as grooming gangs.
You think he's going to
For
be the sort
example,
of favored homosexual in the caliphate? That's what he thinks he might be in a best case scenario. I don't know if he even understands the implications of the things that he's advocating.
Well, he can only peddle lies, and if someone like when there was that Bataclan thing, not Bataclan, I think there was some sort of gay nightclub shooting, maybe it was Orlando.
Yes, the one in Orlando.
he'll just get up and leave an interview because he's got nothing. She's got nothing.
Yes.
He's the type of person who can't have a genuine debate.
Bad faith every time, without fail, as hard and as deep as possible.
Zoe Garner here.
Who is she? I've only become aware of her.
Look at this. Look at the narrative.
There's a darkness coming. It's already swallowed America, and now it's coming for us too. In 2019, we protested against Donald Trump, and we thought if we shout loud enough, maybe he'll go away. Now he's back. On September 17th, Donald Trump.
So she's essentially saying we thought that if we played the Democratic card, we would win, but we lost. What else do you want?
Well, if we don't win, it's fascism.
Here, let's remember this man who is essentially playing into this alarmist narrative according to which everyone who disagrees with the left is a fascist, and let us see his true colors and how they were revealed. Let's remember this.
They hurt. We've got children and women using those trains, destroying some relatives. They are disgusting, nasty fascists, and we need to cull their throats and get rid of them all.
And then they had the Free Palestine chant. So he's essentially playing into this narrative according to which everyone who disagrees with the left is Mussolini at best, and they deserve the treatment according to of throat slashing according to this reprehensible rhetoric. And man, who was released? He didn't face any consequences for him. Yes, he didn't remain a Labour councillor, but I don't think that's, I don't know, just this is precisely the far radical left rhetoric that is creating the polarization. It's inventing enemies. Yep. And politicians, and you could say that he is a minor figure, but politicians like Obama and Hillary Clinton and politicians who occupy the top echelons of power are normalizing this rhetoric. They are pandering to people with this rhetoric, and unless they change course, they will find themselves completely pandering to narcissistic psychopaths.
And I think it's worth pointing out, just real quick, that it is the left doing it first and the right only reacting to it.
Yes.
I think I said it on the other day. There's a reason why all throughout history the right has been known as reactionary. The forces of reaction. Yeah, we're reacting to your insanity. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you did it first. You forced our hand. You painted us into a corner here. It's not like people like Roger Scruton or Jacob Rees-Mogg were the first to call for throats being cut, right? It's not that. That's not how it went.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. They're continuously dishonest about it. They will murder you and say that it's your fault for getting murdered.
Yeah.
If you hadn't been controversial, you wouldn't have deserved to be murdered.
This is the narcissist who says, look what you made me do. And what we said before about the logos is incredibly important. It's not just a theoretical, thing to say to sound smart. It's very, very, very specific. The Democrats have pandered to the very emotional side of politics. And they have found themselves in a situation where you could arguably say that the best of humanity, compassion, is being twisted against humanity.
Yes.
Because it's normal to try to understand people. It's normal to try to show respect to people. It's, I'd say, a good thing to show goodwill to people in society who claim to be oppressed, and just listen to them. Listen to them.
Yes.
But what they have done is that because they have jettisoned the idea of reason as that which regulates emotions, they have locked themselves into a situation where they cannot impose limits on the narcissists who are going to essentially push for claiming that you can't really respect me unless you agree with me and do as I say. You can't really give voice to the unheard unless you do exactly as they say. You can't really show compassion to me unless you agree with my self-conception and do as I say. That's the kind of Democrat Party that is the legacy of Obama. And the good thing, I want to end up on a good note, because we should focus on the good note as well. There were people who instantly, from the Democrat Party, instantly went out and said that that's not in my name. I'm leaving. I'm considering stop supporting. And they didn't do it afterwards when there was backlash. They did it instantly. So we have here, she's saying that basically that she's had enough. We have also other people. Check out our links. They're speaking against this. Dean Withers, I want to basically say this. He was sensible. He was actually compassionate, which suggests to me that, he's very young. He's one of the white dudes for Harris. He's very young. He was brought into this because he wants to be compassionate and he wants to show goodwill to people. And my message to Dean Withers is just well done for this. But also you need to start thinking of the distinction between imposing limits on narcissists and letting them have their way with you. All decent people should learn to do this. Here, Don Joseph also had a 10-minute video and says, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I'm done. That's not in my name. Definitely check this video out, because there are also good people on the other side. And these are times where people may be prone to demonize everyone on the other side. It's important, as Firas said before, to think of reconciliation, and the Democrats need to hold their party in check.
Yes.
They need to do this. Bernie spoke also. I want to say that Bernie is very much respected in the Democrat Party, and in many ways, AOC is seen as his successor. But I do think AOC is precisely this is using this hyper-emotional rhetoric. I know, somehow they have to check their party.
I wrote an article. It's among the first articles I wrote for Lotus, actually, so probably 4+ years ago, likening AOC to a very inarticulate version of Marat in the French, in the French Revolution.
Jean-Paul Marat.
Yeah.
The sewer lurker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A rabble rouser. Somebody playing with matches. But at least the real Marat was extremely eloquent.
Yeah.
And well read. She's not even that. Yeah. But yeah, someone that's here to burn it all down.
Yes.
Someone that's here to, if you're not completely in line with them, to get you killed. Yeah, a monstrous figure, really.
Yeah. Who are the men that pick for scraps amongst the ruins at the end of history? You should know, because you encounter them every day. Between the towering buildings of a fallen empire, we find the Fellaheen, the historyless men, who know nothing of the turning of the cosmic wheel and find themselves outside of civilization itself. Cut loose from the great chain of being, they represent the loam into which our dying culture will return. That is, unless we choose to take up the burden once again. This Fellaheen condition is the subject we explore in issue 4 of Islander magazine, on sale while stocks last and available worldwide at shop.lotuseaters.com.